Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the meeting to order. And as directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I would like to introduce the panel. To my left is Linda McFadgen, and to her far left is Jeff Peach, and my name is Brett McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting. Our secretary for this morning's meeting is Belhan Rojo, and our assessor is Jason Brown. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. And for the purposes of this meeting, it will be affirmation only. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. You may affirm.
State your full name. Jason. You affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your full name.
Les Sikowski.
You affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
And Jason, you may proceed with number 1, which is 1445A Portage Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is file number 196018. Property address is 1445A Portage Avenue. This is the Clarion Hotel. Business is 32971. 2020 business assessment currently, as it stands, is $1,910,280. So hotel business assessments are done a little bit differently from other commercial property types. It's an economic calculation, which is 10% of the realty, and then we deduct we make an adjustment for leased premises, and then we add the occupancy cost to that. So this was reduced at the Board of Revision to $20,665,000. We've taken 10% of that. We backed off 57,938,000 of square feet of leased premises. To that, we've added the occupancy cost of $2.45 per square foot to the remaining square footage. This yields the revised ARV of $1,844,520, and that would be my recommendation today. Thank you.
Thank you. Wes, do you have a response to that?
I accept the recommendation.
Thank you. Linda, any questions?
No question.
Yeah. Thank you. I have no questions. Second item on the agenda is 555 Herbal, and Jason, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 196026, business ID 28820, subject address 555 Herbal Street. Original total ARV of 863,100. That's using overall square footage or ARV per square foot of $5.15 for 167,497 square feet. This was heard at the Board of Revision. There was a reduction, which I'm going to flow through on. So on the second page, highlighted is my recommendation to reduce the 2020 ARV to 801,888 based on the realty decision.
Thank you. Les, any comments?
No comments, but I agree with that recommendation.
Thank you. I guess you're done.
Thank you.
Thanks. Linda, any comments?
No.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Thank you.
Please state your full name.
Trevor Smith.
You affirm the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Morning, Trevor.
Good morning, everyone.
Are you ready to proceed, Jason?
I am, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is file number 195701. Business ID is 6663. Address is 2-770 Pandora Avenue East. So this one's a bit strange. What's actually an appeal, if we turn to page 3, this was the original statement and demand for 2020 business taxes. We can see the date at the top, April 23rd, 2020. And we can see kind of a third of the way down in a box on the right-hand side, the annual rental value of $151,440. This is the value that's in appeal today. However, turning to the next page, we can see this is a supplementary tax notice, business tax notice. At the top left-hand corner, we can see the date June 4th, 2020. And then we can see there was an adjustment where they added $399,000 to the $151,440. So turning back to my first page, that is where we get the total ARV of $550,440, which is simply the $151 plus the $399. So the area was increased to 83,400, which was the reason for the new ARV and the adjustment. I will note that the 21 days to appeal the adjustment has passed. So I will leave that with you, Mr. Chairman. However, I can go over my calculations for the 550,440. So we've used 83,400 square feet at an overall ARV of.
Maybe we should deal with this issue first.
I agree.
Trevor, do you have any response to this?
I do. Obviously, the main business assessments come out every year at the same time in November, and the our clients or people in general are aware of when they're coming out, and they're waiting for them to arrive. Our client duly appealed that assessment when it came out at the original time. Subsequently, the city issued a supplemental assessment. Note the timing of this, June 4th of this year. So, well after let's say the beginning of business assessment appeals back in February, kind of shortly before these ones start up. Tenants, owners are not looking for things to arrive out of the blue. If you look at our current year that we're operating within, people are not always in the office to receive such notices as they come in. They may not be aware that it has arrived and that they may indeed need to appeal it. Now, that's kind of the background. Beyond that, and this this personally irks me, but if you've appealed the original business assessment and it's then increased from there, very clearly the tenant, owner, occupant would have intended to appeal any supplemental to that if you've increased beyond the original assessment that was appealed. So the fact that there's a 21-day period, yes, I don't deny that. It should be a flow through where if you've appealed the original business assessment and or realty assessment and you receive a sub, it should continue forward. The 21-day window I've spoken about numerous times before the board is exceptionally short and very difficult to respond to for many owners and or tenants in the time frame allowed. And as I mentioned, we're obviously in somewhat different circumstances now, and mailing out an assessment in this time frame is unlikely to get a response.
Okay, I think we'll take a 10-minute break. Gentlemen, to discuss this.
Can I just make one note quickly? On my page 5, this is the income and expense.
We'll hear the appeal, present your evidence, and we will put an appropriate weight on it. Jason, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll just quickly run through the calculation. We have 83,400 square feet with an overall ARV per square foot of $6.60. The breakdown of this calculation is shown below. The base ARV is $374,466 using $4.49 per square foot. To that, we add the occupancy costs of $175,974, giving us our total of $554.40. Have some rent comparables listed below, ranging from $4.43 up to $8.70. And then just quickly on the last page, I brought to your attention that the premise that's under appeal is the Fair Furniture. We can quickly see here they're showing on their IME a leased area of 83,400 square feet, and the rent per square foot on that lease is $5 per square foot. We're using $4.49, so we feel that this is fair and equitable, and we ask that it be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. I won't get into the comparables too much. Other than the first one, 760 Pandora Avenue. So that this is immediately adjacent to the subject, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be Delta 9 that is in that.
That is correct, which is technically part of the same.
Yeah, so it started out life as part of the overall complex for DeFair there, and then Delta 9 purchased that property, correct? So that's an owner-occupied property, 760.
It does appear that way, yes.
Okay. And just briefly looking at number 3 there, 200 Discovery Place, that would be a modern flex warehouse out in the Inksbrook.
Correct. I was just looking for
size
areas. Yeah,
yeah.
Similar.
Fair enough. I get it. And then the income and expense form that you've included there. So this particular one, the year end date that we're looking at the top here is December 31, 2018.
Correct.
So that's okay. And then looking at the IME itself, so these are all gross rents, as you can see on the return that they provided.
Yeah, it
the
looks
recoveries are non-existent on the checks, and so that
all except for Delta 9, but that's
right.
Yeah.
So they're leasing some additional space from the ownership here.
correct. And I apologize for cutting that off, the check marks, but
No
it is
problem.
a gross rent.
And then the defer furniture space itself, that is a non-arm's length internal
Correct.
rental
It would
rate,
be a
correct?
book rent, I suppose.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
But just to confirm, the $5 is a rent, but the book rent, it's not.
That is correct.
And when we look at the comparables, the first one is also owner occupied, so that's not a rent we should be considering, is that?
That would be correct, yes. Any 200 Discovery Place is a superior.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff?
No questions, thanks.
And I have no questions. So Trevor, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe just to begin, the realty appeal on 770 Pandora was heard earlier this year, January 29th. And I've included that decision at the back. It's a very big property with many pieces to it. The portion that we're dealing with today is a single building. It's not the buildings that are located at the rear of the site. I don't know if you have an aerial there in front of you or not, but we're dealing with the main building that fronts on Pandora itself and only a portion thereof. That building is 386,000 square feet or something of that nature. I've got it in my brief here. In any case, that is the property that we're dealing with. We're not dealing with any additional land or any of those items, obviously. If you flip into the addenda of my brief there, I have included a copy of the brief. You can see that the decision was based on the applicant's income value plus an additional land value that was applied, and then I've provided the detail from the brief that I've included for the realty appeal itself, so you can see where that flows through from.
What page is that on?
Well, unfortunately, our system is not set up to give you page numbers. So if you flip through to what says Appendix 3 Addenda, it's the pages immediately following that.
Probably roughly.
It's towards the back of the brief.
Okay, I got to the appendix.
Okay,
I haven't yet.
Board members,
I'll give you time there. So Appendix 3, there's some mandatory stuff from the Appraisal Institute that we have to include, and then we get to Appendix 3 and you have the decision giving you applicant's income value plus land. And then we have pages from the brief itself, including the gross rental rates that were in effect at the time of the appeal, and their resultant net rental rates once you deduct the operating costs. So the overall average rental rate was $2.79 a square foot. And they ranged from $1.85 up to a high for a small office portion of $4.93 a square foot. So with a general average of $2.80 a square foot. That is taken from the realty. If you continue onwards, you can see that for the property as a whole, we used a rental rate of $2.60 a square foot. For the subject today, we are using $2.80 a square foot, the average for the property. All of the rental space in the overall complex that is rented is in this main building. So all of these rents are from that same space, and we've converted them to their equivalent net rental rates for you there. So we have used a rent of $2.80 a square foot. If you move to the very back of the brief, I have included the income and expense form from the appropriate year, 12/31/2017. Yes, as of April 1, 2018, they had moved up in size to the 83,400 square feet. So we are using the same area, but as of year end 2017, the INE is as such included in the back of the brief. So they moved up from a space of just over 13,000 square feet up to 83,000 square feet. They own the property. They grow and shrink as they need if the space is available for them to operate there. So they've moved up to 83,000. They've subsequently gone back down somewhat since that time. So we are operating on the basis of them occupying the 83,400 square feet. If you flip to the beginning of the brief, we'll be very quick in going through this. As noted, the realty has already been decided on the basis of our income provided. I haven't changed anything. It's all the same material. The building was originally built between 1973 and 2005. That's the overall property. The property at the front was built, I believe, in 1973. You can see the history of the realty appeals and the business appeals with consistent reductions up to the 2018 timeframe, which we have under appeal at the municipal board, as well as the 2020 realty, just on the basis of the land that was applied to it. There is an aerial on my page number 4. You can see the main building. It's a bit dark, but you can see it fronting on Pandora on the top northwest corner of that aerial. There's description there. And then we have a few photos moving on from that. So page number 5, it's building number 1. So the main building, built in 73, 346,000 square feet. My apologies. External wall height of 22 feet. So very significant size. Building itself, it was originally intended entirely for occupancy by defer. Obviously, that industry has changed significantly, and they no longer use the entire building as the industry has shifted away from Canada to being production based in other areas. The internal demising of the building, given the location of the building and the tenants that they're generally able to attract and the term that they're generally able to get, they're getting lower rents and lower time frames for this building. So they do not go through the expense of building demising walls between their tenancies unless they're there for a normal length of time, such as 5 years, which is not typical in this location. So they demise the property by marking it off on the ground through paint and or tape, etc. So it's not, they're not your typical units to rent. Demand in this area, we're at the very end of Pandora. It's significantly out of the way for a lot of manufacturers, and you're further away from your main transportation thoroughfares, etc. There is a lot less demand here, and that is shown once we get into the valuation on the rental rates that they're able to apply. We can skip through the property location on page 13. Obviously, you can see the aerial there and the location of the property at the end of Pandora, kind of just inside the perimeter. moving on to the actual valuation itself on page 17. So again, this is the exact same material provided in the realty, taken from the year-end 2017 material. Pardon me. The subject that we're dealing with itself, the occupant defer has obviously increased from 13,000 square feet up to 83,000 square feet. So we are basing it on the 83,000 square feet. These are the rental rates that were present for the company, for the property as of the correct time frame. We have an overall average rent of $2.80 a square foot. Again, all of these tenancies are from the same building. If you look at the largest one, 107,000 square feet, being the closest to in size to the subject property, they were at $1.85 a square foot. And then there's a variety of levels of rent from there, looking at the other ones, once you deduct the operating costs. So overall average was $2.80 a square foot. We provide our comparables in terms of size on page number 18, size, location, utility, etc. We've gone through this material previously. I won't go through it unless you have specific questions. You can see that we've tried to provide significant size leases here, and many of them are in that 100,000 square foot range, with a few slightly below that. So we're looking in that upper $2 per square foot range, $2.75, $2.85, $2.65, generally for similar properties with similar utility. So 83,000 square feet, significant size to lease out in our marketplace, obviously also draws a lesser rental rate. So we have gone with the overall average for the property at $2.80 a square foot, as the subject itself is owner occupied. So this gives us our rental revenue of $233,520. We have no dispute with the expenses. So once you add these, page number 20 gives you our final ARV of $409,440 rounded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Linda?
I have no question.
Yep. Thanks. And I have no questions. So we'll proceed to the last one, Furniture Park, and Jason will proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 195700, business assessment ID 1980, and subject address is 55 Furniture Park. We have a total annual rental value of $2,207,460, and this is based on a total area of 400,728 square feet at $5.51 a square foot. This ARV is composed of two different premises. The first one is 186,658 square feet. We've used a base ARV of $3.34 plus costs, giving us a total ARV for that premise of $1,021,920. The second premise consists of 214,070 square feet. To this, we've applied a rate of $3.41 a square foot plus costs, generating an ARV of $1,185,540 combined for $2,207,460. Some rent comparables are listed below. This was heard at the Board of Revision and it was reduced. It was based on evidence presented by both the Assessment and Taxation Department and the applicant. I did try and reconcile this decision. Had a bit of difficulty getting to the actual value, but it was reduced from $10,023,000 down to $7,800,000. Having said that, this is pending at the municipal board for 2020. So today we're asking to confirm the ARV. On the back side of the page, there is an aerial photograph of the subject property. So this is a long, skinny, sprawling property of 400,000 square feet. And the following page just shows a location on the map where it is off Gateway and Raleigh between Chief Peguis and McLeod. Based on that, we ask that the ARV be confirmed. Thank you.
There are questions.
Just a couple. So the total area of premises is just over 400,000 square feet.
Correct.
So looking at that in terms of size, that would be one of the largest occupants in the city of Winnipeg, would it not?
It is a very large building.
Okay, and based on appraisal and assessment theory, typically a larger space such as that would, given economies of scale, would drive a lower overall rent, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
No questions.
Yep. Questions? And I have no questions. So Trevor, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So as Mr. Brown mentioned there, the realty decision has already been decided. This one is easier to find, thankfully, in my brief. It is the second last 2 pages. For 55 Furniture Park. Now, really what we're looking at here today is 55 Furniture Park and 125 Furniture Park. They are on separate roll numbers and have separate addresses in the city, but it is all one building built in stages over time. It remains on 2 separate realty numbers, but it is a single owner occupant that occupies the entire building. If you look at either my cover page or if you look at probably page 18 is the best to give you a description of the site. The aerial, 2 aerials are shown there. And 55 Furniture Park is the long, narrow, shaded building that is on the north side of Furniture Park, fronting onto Gateway on the west side of the property itself, with Furniture Park on the south. Then as you head eastward, 125 Furniture is the unshaded portion, which is at the very end of that aerial. I'll just hold it up so you can see this would be 125 here. So what we're actually looking at is both buildings combined. It's all DeFerre Furniture. They are the owner occupant, and they function out of the entire building. Now, looking at, again, the last 2 pages, the realty was decided, again, as it says, based on material presented by both the Assessment and Taxation Department and the applicant. Similar to Mr. Brown, I couldn't come up with the exact number with your typical adjustments, but if you flip to the very last page of the brief, I've given you my workup for the property, as well as the City of Winnipeg's workup for the property side by side. We were at $7,574,000, city at $10 million. So you can see that, to my eye, it generally looks like they used our rental rate and made some indeterminate adjustment there in order to arrive at the 7.8. Looking at the property itself here today, I've included a description of both 125 Furniture and 55, which form this business roll number here of 1980. The property is owner occupied. It's built by DeFair in stages as their business grew over time. So they started fronting on Gateway, built their original building, and as they expanded, they built backwards over time. So you have a building that has, in this case, and I think I've enumerated it further on, a building that has, let's get past the components, 19 different building sections, ranging in age from 1963, which was the original building, up to very small addition in 1999, those being shown on page number 16 and 17 for both 55 and 125 Furniture Park. So the original part of the building, lower ceiling height, this being 55 Furniture Park, lower ceiling height, wood frame, a lot of demising as the sections were added on, etc. So you have a manufacturer with a narrow site, as you can see from the aerials, a very interrupted workflow as they transition their materials from arriving on site and moving them into finished products back. They have to move through all of these individual buildings. It's not how a manufacturer would go about building a property of 400,000 square feet today. It's simply the situation that they find themselves in, having started on that site. So the building itself, dominantly older, lower ceiling height. Looking at this in the marketplace overall, it would certainly draw a lower rental rate in comparison to a property that would be more typical with higher ceilings, better loading, greater on-site storage ability, etc. Subject property itself has a very low land to plan area ratio of 1.52 to 1. This is exceptionally low for industrial space. Typically, we're looking for most industrial manufacturers, they're looking for a minimum of 4 to 1. We're well below that. You can see this from the aerial itself. The photos of the property are all there for you to see as well. Some very special use portions of the building as well that would not typically be leasable. I can go through this in greater detail if the panel wishes, but I'll leave it there for you to consider. I think we've given you the overall perspective. The location itself, shown on page number 19, again, off of Gateway here, we're looking at, essentially we're looking at Palliser and DeFair here with some very small other, there's 1 or 2 other streets that have some much smaller industrial properties on them. So this section of Winnipeg is essentially almost 2 occupants in terms of being an industrial location. So it's not a high demand area. It's not on your major shipping routes. So from that perspective, it's not ideal as well. Loading for the property is not ideal as well. Moving on to my page number 20, I'm not going to go through the descriptions of functional obsolescence. I've covered this very briefly earlier here. Essentially, the design of this property is not functional either for the current occupant or for any potential other future tenant. This obviously drives value as well as what rental rate one could achieve on the market. Moving beyond that, let's look at rental rates themselves. So the property is owner occupied. We have no rent in place. 400,000 square feet. We're essentially looking at a tiny portion of the marketplace that has facilities of this size. There is Kitchen Craft that I can think of. There's Standard Arrow. There's very, very few owner occupants that are of this size. All owner occupants. So there are no rents out in the marketplace of, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 square feet. They simply don't exist. If they did, your rental rate on a facility such as this, built in 63 onwards in stages, is going to be very low. Outside of the economies of scale itself, the demand for this property would be low. So we've given you our rental comparables on page 22. They're the same as they were for the realty decision. I'm happy to go through them if you wish. They're the largest confirmed ones that we can find in the marketplace that would be comparable to the subject. So they range obviously throughout the market, generally in better located and higher value spaces. Now, looking at the subject property, we applied an overall rental rate of $3.15 a square foot to this property. In the realty, we're sticking with that for the business. Part of that is based on the newest section of the building, 125, is newer and has some higher ceiling heights. That, again, doesn't detract from all the other negative aspects of the property. So a rental rate of $3.15 a square foot is at the maximum of what I would see for a property such as this. So that gives us our rental income of $1,262,293, as shown on page number 23. To this, we have not disputed the expenses, and adding the expenses to our income on page number 25, we get a final rounded ARV of $2,116,320 based on a rental rate of $3.15. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, any questions?
So these two premises are actually located in two separate roll numbers, that's correct?
Two separate realty roll numbers,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And so I see in your realty brief, for 55 Furniture Park, you were using $3.15. That's correct?
Yes.
And however, for 125 Furniture Park, you were using $3.25.
Yes, I did have a marginally higher rental rate for that. Now, if we look at that in tandem, so you're looking at one is slightly more than 200,000 square feet, one is slightly less. When you combine them, you have 400,000 square feet. So I have gone with the $3.15 a square foot to cover the whole property for that reason.
But conceivably, that could be blended together to get a
more accurate. I would definitely disagree with that. In terms of size, 400,000 square feet, no, I don't. I think 315 is on the high side, frankly, for the overall facility.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Linda?
No questions, thank you.
Yeah.
I have none, thanks.
And I have no questions. So that concludes the hearing this morning. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.